taken a board decision earlier on December 18, 2024, in which Sebi Merchant Bankers Regulations 1992, Sebi Debenture Trustee Regulations 1993, and Sebi Custodians Regulation 1996 were sought to be amended. And there was one issue which related to creating a separate legal entity in case we have, they are taking up some unregulated activity, which means an activity which is not regulated by either of the regulators, maybe any of the regulators, either SEBI or RBI or any other regulator. Then in that case, we needed to, we required them to hive off in next 2 years into a separate entity. Of course, we had given certain dispensation in terms of sharing of resources, etc. However, we have taken an internal review, and we feel that the alternative approaches may be possible in order to mitigate the risk, at the same time, creating the ease of doing business for them. So therefore, it has been decided that we will come back again to the board for a revised proposal. Till that time, we will not operate the earlier decision which was done, which was taken on December 18, 2024. So then we have, these are basically the ease of compliance and ease of business measures. There is one measure relating to governance. And this provision is relating to appointment of public interest directors, cooling off period for key management personnel and directors, and the appointment process for specific KMPs in market infrastructure institutions. So based on the feedback received from various stakeholders regarding appointment of PIDs on the governing board of MIs without the approval of the shareholders, the process for appointment of PID were reviewed. Similarly, this cooling off period issue was reviewed. Governance of MIs, the various KMPs, their issues were reviewed. And after the review, the board has taken the following decisions. One, the existing process for appointment of PIDs, which requires prior approval of SEBI, but does not mandate shareholder approval, shall continue. Second, if the governing board of an MII decides not to reappoint an existing PID after his or her first term, it must record the rationale for this decision and communicate it to SEBI. Third, cooling off period for KMPs and directors of MIIs moving to competing MIIs. For that, the governing board of an MII may prescribe a minimum cooling period for its KMPs and directors, including managing director and PIDs, before joining a competing MII. SEBI will no longer prescribe a cooling off period for PIDs transitioning from one MII to another. So far as the process for appointment of specific KMPs in MIIs, the appointment, reappointment, or termination of specific KMPs, which includes compliance officer, chief risk officer, chief technology officer, and chief information security officers, namely CEO, CRIO, CTO, and CISO, by whatever designation called in Vertical 1, which belongs to critical operations, and Vertical 2, which belongs to regulatory, compliance, risk management, and investor grievances side, shall require approval of the managing board of the MIIs, which was hitherto with the nomination and remuneration committee of the MII. So therefore, it's being upgraded that instead of only the NRC, it has to be through the governing board of the MIIs. And a process is also being prescribed through a selection process, which then MII has to appoint an independent selection committee, which will then report to NRC, and then the NRC makes recommendations to the governing board. So therefore, that process is getting strengthened for all these 4 category of officers. MII has to appoint an independent selection committee, which will then report to NRC, and then the NRC makes recommendations to the governing board. So therefore, that process is getting strengthened for all these 4 category of officers. This was on the governance side. And now I think the issue on SEBI governance itself. So the day I had joined, I had mentioned that we'll come up with our plan, how we will handle the conflict of interest and other issues. So today the board has decided to constitute a high-level committee to undertake a comprehensive review of the provisions relating to conflict of interest, disclosures pertaining to property, investments, liabilities, etc., and related matters in respect of members, that includes the chairman and officials of the board. As you know, there is a code of conduct of 2008 in respect of members of the board, including chairman. And there is also ESR, Employee Service Regulations 2001,